Yes, I have a question. Sure. Maybe a question for Daniel. So, do you think that the US gets the regulatory environment right for AI, and Europe doesn't, or do you think that's oversimplifying it?
I would say that Europe doesn't get it right, but that doesn't mean the US gets it right. I'm not at all saying the US gets it right. In fact, I spend a lot of my time in the US trying to convince our policymakers to start getting it right. There's a, in the medical field, we say, do no wrong, do no harm. I think the US has managed to do no harm so far, and I think Europe is doing harm. And so that's maybe the biggest difference right now. But then you look at what China's doing, and they're doing good. They're not only doing no harm, they're also doing good. They've really put forward a very ambitious strategy to, first of all, by 2020, be leaders in just AI research. And then by 2025, they want to be not only among the top, they want to be the absolute best at AI and using AI in all their traded sectors. And by 2030, I think they just pretty much don't plan to care about anyone else because they're going to be winning globally everything. And that's, but that's the right mentality, right? I mean, that's not at all a critique of China. That's saying every country should really be thinking in these terms, which is how can we do this really well? And I think, what Europe has gotten caught up on is questions of transparency around algorithms. This question of, is AI a black box? Do we understand what's happening inside of it? And wanting to kind of regulate, decision making as opposed to regulating outcomes. Because I think, Europe gets it from the economic point of view. And I'd be curious on your perspective on that same question as well.
Well, I think you, if I may,
sure,
the question. So, one of the things I learned in Brussels is that there are two very different traditions to making regulations and policy. There's what you might call the Napoleonic Franco-German approach, which broadly says you must have a framework in place before you do anything. And then there's what we might call the traditional Anglo-American approach, which is let the market take the shape and then use regulation to fill the gaps, address any market failures. And that's a constant challenge in European policy making. You see it all the time, that there is a feeling that before anything happens, we must put the framework in place. We must make sure we've got everything covered. It's a really a deep challenge at the heart of Europe, I think. I see Thomas as a...
No, I didn't mean this. No, I have the...
Okay, we have to spare time for the floor.
There's a point I want to make. I think that the broad economic effects have to be emphasized much more than they have, because when we talk about does AI replace jobs, and you get these specific examples of an occupation that's been displaced, et cetera. So, but I think all of the other issues about increasing consumption, one piece of information, which is that if we wanted to live at the standard of living in the United States of 1915, we could do that working 17 weeks in a year. So the whole question about how much gets consumed doesn't get addressed by these specific issues, as well as all of the other technological changes, the other inducements for other kinds of innovations that take place with this. So that's why I think that I think that that the overall effect of that will be positive on employment. Now, as I said, I think the question is really what the adjustment is. And if you think about the adjustment in the United States and in other countries to the huge change from agriculture to an industrial economy, that was when we introduced kind of universal high school education in the United States and in other countries. So that was a crucial way to adapt to that very significant. I have to say the switch from agriculture to non-agriculture is probably more significant than this change we're having now. So.
If I can add to that, I have a question for you, Thomas, while we're still waiting.
Would you please stop now?
Okay.
우리 모두 떠나고 셋만 남겨놔도 계속 토론할 것 같은 그런 분위기입니다. 그래도 청중에 대한 서비스를 위해서 질문이 아까 그 아이패드에는 세팅이 뭐 잘못돼서 질문이 안 올라왔는데 지금 휴대전화를 가져왔는데 여기에는 질문이 몇 개 와 있습니다. 이 질문을 좀 제가 직접 한국말로 읽을 테니까 인터프리테이션을 좀 해주시면 좋겠습니다. 이분은 세 분에게 모두 질문하고 싶어 하시는데 제가 보기에는 세 분 다 답하지 말고 미스터 히긴스께서 답해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 기존에 1차, 3차 산업혁명에서 발생한 기술에서 만들어진 기계를 다루는 데는 간단한 교육만 가지고도 가능했는데 이제는 과연 4차 산업혁명에서 다루어지는 이런 기술과 이런 것들을 모든 사람들이 다 따라갈 수 있는가라는 질문입니다. 아주 좋은 질문 같습니다.
Just waiting for the very good translation. Just let me say thank you very much to the translators. The point I tried to make in my remarks was it's up to us to learn how to become masters of the tools that are available to us. And the question asks, is it not going to be a lot more difficult to master this set of tools? I mean, I think the answer to that is sadly yes and no. I mean, if I look at my car today compared to the first car that I drove, I used to be able to lift the bonnet up on my first car, and I knew what the stuff was, and I could check the oil. None of us really ever lifts the bonnet on our cars today. We just know that it works, but at least we know how to use it. And I think that's the thing with AI and other robotic tools. We just have to know how to use them. We don't have to know inside out how they work. So in some ways, no, I don't think it is going to be more difficult. I mean, just take some of these medical examples. Medical researchers have been amongst the most avid users of narrow or small AI because they immediately see the benefits, they know what they've got to do, and they get the results. You know, I mean, it's so, I would say no. I think we are quite capable of making much more use of small or narrow AI than we have today.
If I can add in, I think one of the really interesting applications of artificial intelligence is around just helping workers do things they couldn't do before, especially as assistive technology for people with disabilities. So for example, if you don't have good dexterity, if you can't move your fingers, it's very difficult to work on a computer today. But with speech recognition and voice control, you can start controlling what has become this digital world in new ways. And that's a very powerful change when people can interact more naturally with computers. It opens up many new opportunities, many new professions, and I think that's kind of an under-recognized part about how AI actually expands worker opportunities in many cases.
Yeah, and if I could say this, I mean, I don't know of any principle that says there's some limit to what we can learn and what we can do if it's in the right circumstances. So I mean, you could give examples that suggest that operating machines in the Industrial Revolution was easier than this, but I don't think we can actually have an argument that says no, we have a limit to what we can do in that way.
Okay. Okay. The second question is also interesting. This question is 한국말로 하기로 했죠. 죄송합니다. 세 분에게 다 질문이 된다고 그랬는데 저는 이 질문을 베일리에게 질문을 하도록 하겠습니다. 국가 내 혹은 지역 내의 격차를 줄여야 한다는 데는 공감대가 있는 것 같습니다. 그러나 범위를 세계로 넓힌다면 기술의 혜택을 받는 인구가 그렇지 않은 인구보다 훨씬 더 많은데 AI의 발전에 따라서 이 격차가 더 커질 것으로 보입니다. 이런 격차를 줄이는 방법에 대해서 어떤 의견이 있으신지요?
Not sure I completely understand that question. I mean, I guess it's hard to say. I'm not sure I would accept that the people are benefiting. More people are hurt by technology than are benefiting from technology. What does that really mean? I mean, in some narrow sense of thinking about some specific jobs, that might be true. But the benefits of technology and of the types of innovations and products and processes that we have from computerization and all of the things that go with that are profound. So I guess I wouldn't really accept the premise of that question. You could make that argument if you're thinking about a very specific type of technology or type of change.
Maybe the question was getting at what we used to in the UK call the digital divide. You know, the access to digital technologies from some parts of the community was greater than others. And I'd just go back, my answer to it would be to go back to what I said. Narrow AI is just another sort of digital technology. I don't think it's going to be any greater or less than the digital divide we have today, which we do need to address because we don't want digital to exacerbate the divisions in society. Quite the opposite. We need to find ways of digital being something that redresses the balance in society.
Yeah, and if I can just add, I mean, one of the, you know, again, I do think we need to think about this in terms of digital consumption. So when we're talking about elevators, you know, the concern and the policy shouldn't really be about the elevator operator. It should be about the elevator users, which is a significantly larger population. It's everyone, right? And so, you know, in that same way, I mean, when we're looking at, we have written actually quite a bit at our think tank on what we call the data divide and data poverty, which goes to the fact that certain groups, because there is data not collected about them, aren't able to benefit from the use of these technologies. And so it's a little bit different than the traditional digital divide because it's not necessarily I can't afford the technology, it's that maybe some group hasn't collected data about me. And that lack of collection about data about me or a population that I'm a part of has a negative impact on me. So it might have to do with how, you know, housing prices are predicted or how medical research is being done if I'm in a certain ethnic group. And so the you know, point of that is to say, you know, part of public policy isn't just about making sure that everyone has access to the technology, it's also making sure everyone has data being collected about them so that they can be part and they can benefit from all of these technologies that use data and that really mine all this data to create their value.
감사합니다. 시간이 이제 65초가 남아서 아주 간단한 질문을 베일리에게 하겠습니다. 미래에는 변화에 대비한 적응력이 굉장히 중요하다고 말씀하시는데 학생들에게 적응력을 기르기 위해서 어떤 노력을 할 수 있는지요?
You know, well, as I've tried to say, I think we know how to do that. I think there's a consensus really here. If I can make another prediction, you know, about that. When we leave here tomorrow, I think there'll be a consensus about the type of education that would be good to prepare students so that they'll be able to adapt. I think we've known how to do that for a long time, and it involves the types of broader moving away from the type of more rigid or more specific pedagogy that we've used in the past. I haven't heard a disagreement about that, so I do think there's a consensus. I guess to me the question with that is really why is it that we're not doing more of it? I think we know what good teaching is. We know what good teaching will be in this environment. We've known that, I think, for a while. But at the same time, I think if you look around and you'll see not only that often that's not done, but I think there's a big difference, as I've tried to emphasize, with respect to equity, about who gets that good teaching. So those are questions really about how is it that we can go about doing the kinds of things I think we all pretty much agree need to be done.
감사합니다. 오늘 시간이 다 돼서 이제 정리할 시간이 됐는데 이 발표하신 분들의 AI와 일자리에 관한 입장이 제가 보기에는 대동소이했기 때문에 큰 논쟁적인 쟁점 같은 거를 찾아내기는 어려웠던 것 같습니다. 다음에 이런 자리가 또 생기면은 정말로 일자리가 없어진다고 위협적으로 얘기하시는 분과 그렇지 않을 거다라고 하는 분들의 논쟁이 다시 진행됐으면 좋겠다라는 생각이 됩니다. 장시간 동안 좋은 열심히 들어주셔서 감사합니다. 박수로 한번 이분들께